I was scrolling through the old TikTok yesterday, and I saw this. We're having a very trans-centric day. So this person posted here, and I think that they're trans in some capacity. They're non-binary, I imagine. And it says, trigger warning, transphobia. Being misgendered during a competition can throw you off your game. There is no apology after. There's my shaky hands right afterwards. Be better. Now, what competition are they competing in? Milk? A milk competition.
All right. The eye contact.
Only because I practice in drop shot for 2 years during lockdown.
Hell yeah. Fucking hell.
That was the competition. Pouring milk. So I don't know. We missed where this person got called she. So it's like the second she serves this, we get started with a new run, and they said, "There's my shaky hand right afterwards." So that's her. That's what. By the way, it seems like this is what she's saying is her shaky hand, right? Or sorry, Sorry, this is what they're saying is their shaky hand. They're stirring the fucking milk. It's a barista competition. Well, that's the bigger issue. A barista competition. Oh, I was at a competition. I took a peeing competition just now. Barista competition. Listen, bro, person, whatever. First of all, it doesn't even seem like they're shaking at all. They're like lying about it afterwards. Okay. Like they're mixing the drink, right? Like that's what it looks like to me.
The eye contact.
They're frothing the foam. I don't know. I don't compete in ridiculous things, but somebody called them she, okay, and they look like a girl. Like I'm not sure, and they at no point corrected like, hey, I'm non-binary, or please call me they or something. If they were like, oh, hey, sorry, like I go by they them, and then the guy's like, all right, fuck you, bitch. Like then I would have been like, okay, that's disrespectful. But not everybody's gonna know that you're trans. Wear a name tag. I don't know what you want me to tell you. It's milk, M-E-L-K. Okay, shut the fuck up. We don't have to do this every time I say milk. Every time I say milk, you don't have to go like, oh, milk. Blah, blah, blah. All right, we don't have to go through this conversation every fucking time that I do this. All right, guys, come on, stop it. Nobody's gonna know that you're trans a lot of the times. Okay, they refer to you as she. You look like a girl. That's okay. All you have to do is respectfully say, hey, sorry, I'm non-binary. I go by they them. And then the person, if they don't apologize, then I'd say like, okay, that's shitty. But like, my thing is like they trigger warninged it. If they were just like, hey, I was at a competition and why even post a video? Like, what? Like, listen, in my opinion, that this just makes trans people like look bad. Because I feel like trans people aren't this sensitive. Some people are, but some people are on the internet in general. So, like, all you're doing is like a trigger warning, transphobia. I wouldn't even call this transphobia. This is an oopsie doopsie. Like, bro, it's okay. They didn't know. They like, it's not that. And if this, listen, I can see why I would be like, man, that kind of sucks and it upsets you a little bit. But not everything needs to be a traumatic transphobic experience or like a traumatic bigoted experience for you. Like okay, so let me try to give you like an example. I went on an airplane recently-ish with my wife, and I get on the plane. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'4". I'm fat. And the airline guy goes to me. He goes, hey, listen, like you may not want to sit there. You might want to sit here because the way that the plane is shaped, these seats have the most room. And I was actually appreciative of that because I'm looking to be comfortable. But like, imagine I'm like, so you might want the most room because I'm fat. It's like, dude, not everything has to be like this really deep offensive situation. Sometimes people are just being people. And to call it transphobia, to trigger warning, to even make this a video, so like tell people that your hands were shaking when you were like mixing the whatever, it's just embarrassing. My hands were shaking right afterwards. Oh, she says, there's my shaking hands right afterwards, guys. Hey guys, I just poured myself a cup of milk. Hey guys, I gotta mix it a little bit. Oh, my hands are shaking. You know, it's just kind of crazy. It's like, dude, shut up. It's annoying, and it's overly sensitive, and it's not practical. If you can't handle dealing with microaggressions, then just don't go outside. I don't know what to tell you. And I mean that across the board, bro. Like, you don't have to, not everything has to be like this deep, and like, not everything has to be this deep phobic moment. And even if people are sometimes a little shitty towards you, you also don't have to put it on the fucking internet. Like, there are times where people, like, listen, there's times where people, they might make a comment about me when I'm in public and alluding to my weight, and it's annoying, but like, it's not worth throwing. This guy just called me fat. This guy just called me fat. It's just like, dude, like, shut the fuck up. You know? You know what I mean? We don't have to always be offended. Yeah, how did you survive this long? Everybody's pretty negative to this person. Oh no, I hope you can survive this horrific experience. Such a scary and dangerous situation. And listen, I get it. If the person is continuously misgendered, I can see why it's frustrating, but like, there has to be a certain point where we teach people to advocate for themselves instead of just like teaching people to be offended. If somebody like does this to you, just be a person, be a strong person. Oh, hey, this girl's she's mixing whatever. Oh, excuse me, like hey, listen, like I go by they them. That's it. Oh, okay. Be honest, be respectful. So, base take in the chat. Also, I feel like if this person, if she and her were so triggering, then I would expect more dysphoria and more masculine appearance to avoid it. That's actually a fucking that's from Mama God. That's actually a based as fuck take. That's a little bit base. I didn't think of it like that, but like, yeah, if you had such an intense frustration with being called a girl, then you would show yourself off more in a less as a less feminine way as you could. That makes sense if you're so dysphoric. But they're wearing women's clothing. They have earrings in their women's earrings in their ear. They have some short hair. My mom has that hair. You know what I mean? So, and again, it's fine that they identify as they them. But like, at the end of the day, like, if you're very frustrated with being seen as feminine, then why dress so femininely? It's a base take. It's a very base take. So, it's true. You know? It is true. It's a good point. So let's move on to what they say the response is.
So this really got out of control.
No way you called that transphobic. How is he supposed to know he's not going to go around and ask every person their pronouns? True. Listen, I understand that like workplaces will ask you your pronouns now and like your emails, and I'm totally fine with that. It creates a comfortable environment. That's totally chill. But like, that's workplaces with protocols. This is the real world. I know that they're at like a competition, but like, it's just so impractical. You know what I mean? If they did do that, that's like above and beyond type behavior. So good for them, but they didn't, because who would?
Got out of control.
No.
And let's clarify some stuff here.
Okay.
First of all, it was not workplace. It was a competition.
Yeah, that makes it more justifiable that they didn't know.
And it was like an inside company competition.
We said it was a workplace. We even said that. Bro, they spam callers just keep calling me, bro. I told them to take up the list.
So all those people there were my coworkers, are fully aware of my pronouns.
Okay.
And how to refer to me.
It sounded like that guy was like a judge or something, saying that, like, talking about protocol of who could go next. So they probably just didn't know.
The bit about shaky hands was specifically referring to the fact that you don't want to have shaky hands when you're pouring little latte art, because you can mess it up.
Well, then you shouldn't have gotten so offended.
Not that I went and cried in their walk-in fridge.
Yeah, but shaking hands means you're like so body frustrated by an event that like it was like, you know. Okay, that's not the same thing. You were what you're expressing to people is that you were so triggered and frustrated by somebody accidentally and unintentionally misgendering you that you shook
or something. I'm not saying guess, I'm saying ask, and I'm not saying that.
Why would they ask? Wait, what?
Ask, and I'm not saying
what?
Latte art, because you can mess it up. Not that I went and cried in their walk-in fridge or something.
It would have been better off, and they're just not telling us. You could have done whatever you wanted, but just don't tell us. You know what I mean? Like, you're entitled to have your reactions, even if they're disproportionate, as long as they're not like hurting anybody. But like, to put it on the internet, to be so bold as to think that like what you're feeling. Like, listen, we all have what that was that. We all have reactions to things that aren't justifiable, and we know it, but it might be part of our venting process. And that's okay. But we also have to understand that that doesn't mean that those are justifiable to society. Right? So you work through it yourself, and then you're okay. You don't have to go on the internet and say, I'm valid. No, your frustrations aren't that. It's valid to be frustrated, but not to call everything trans. Oh, this is transphobic, and I was shaking. What? Like that. Right? Right. We've all been there. But come on. You don't have to be this fucking sensitive.
I'm not saying guess, I'm saying ask. And I'm not saying...
Why would I just walk up to people and start asking, hey, are you... Because I feel that could be potentially rude as well. You look at somebody who has short hair, is wearing like earrings and like attire that a woman would wear, and you're like, hey, are you a girl? I feel like they might feel a little offended. I'm not going to ask that. You tell me. You know? And I understand that could be uncomfortable, but like at the end of the day, it's not transphobic. It's the point that I'm making, even if you think that there things could have been done better.
That everyone who gets it wrong is a fucking devil or something.
You called them transphobic, so you're saying that they're the devil, kind of, to an extent.
Just saying that if someone already knows and does it on purpose multiple times, it's upsetting.
But that's not what you were saying in there at all. It doesn't even sound like it's somebody that knows you. And if that was the case, which you haven't really clearly communicated, because you said it was a workplace competition, so this person probably doesn't even know. Like, it's also possible that they just forgot. I do that shit all the time. Like, I forgot what's the last video I did where I kept misgendering somebody, and I kept saying, fuck. It was Demi Lovato. I watched a video yesterday, Ryan Beard, and I kept calling Demi Lovato. She was like, fuck. And I had to keep correcting myself. Sometimes it just happens. All you put in there is that you were at a competition, and it sounded like somebody that like is like probably doesn't even work at the same place. They're facilitating the competition. Accidentally called you she, and then you started shaking. So I feel like, you know, I don't know.
That's it. Also, you all know that I'm from Eastern Europe, right?
I don't care. Isn't it also wrong to ask, though? It's basically saying that they can't tell if you're man or woman, meaning you look nothing like normal.
Okay,
I guess.
so let's talk about this comment.
Sure.
So the biggest thing about pronouns is to normalize asking for them, to not assume at all. And one of the things is, for example, your pronouns in your social media, your pronouns as your email signature.
Sure. Okay, there are areas that you can do that, but you don't have to do that. It's nice when you put your pronouns in the bio because it makes people feel comfortable knowing that like they can express themselves as trans, for sure. It's nice to put your pronouns in the email. It does the same thing. Okay, but it doesn't make sense to walk around and be like, what's your pronoun? It's just not a realistic expectation.
And a lot of people from trans community was saying how important it is to put your pronouns, even if you're cis, to kind of create the bubble of introducing yourself with pronouns a bit bigger and make it a safer space, because if it's going to be a more common thing to do so, more people, especially trans people, are going to feel safer to share them. Pronouns are okay to ask. And
I don't know, man. Maybe this is just my ignorance, but I feel like there's a profound difference between somebody like this who dresses very femininely but identifies as non-binary and they, them, versus somebody that has like gender dysphoria who's working through like a massive amount of distress associated with their gender not matching their sex. Like, I feel like, I don't know, I'm getting a little uncomfortable calling everybody trans sometimes. I feel like there should be a distinction between people with gender dysphoria and not, because I feel like your experience is more understandable when you have like gender dysphoria. You know what I mean? Because, and I'm not trying to be insensitive, but like I feel like it begs the question. It's like, if you are expressing yourself to society as a woman, and you're very femininely, like, what does your identity really mean to you? Like, what does your transness like really mean to you in like this deep way? And I'm not trying to be an asshole or be invalidating, but like to me, it's just weird to blanket people who you need like a drastic amount of help from society to be seen as like a valid man or a woman, and I respect the hell out of that for trans people who have gender dysphoria and who are going through that struggle and that journey. And I think that we should absolutely implement some healthcare protocols to help them get the transitioning that they need, as long as they're adults, of course. But there's something different between that and like a person who is a biological woman who expresses themselves very heavily as one and then says, but call me they, them. And like, I'm going to be respectful of it. I will, and I will call them they, them. But I just feel like blanketing there's just a profound difference between like those different types of trans people, you know? So
Literally, the only people I know or I heard about that got upset over asking for their pronouns are cis people who are, well, transphobes. Okay.
I like how her whole, or excuse me, sorry, I'm really sorry. I like how their whole argument was that you're just transphobic if you disagree with me, basically, at the end of that. The only people who are upset about this are transphobe. Okay, oh, great. Everything's transphobic. I like it. Here's a
swear
dance.
to God, I'm gonna go to bed now, but one more thing. The most common comment. The most common thing that people said were toughen up, grow up,
Yes.
get a grip.
Yes.
You know, all those kinds of things. And
Yeah, definitely do all those things. You didn't need to post a video about transphobia when somebody accidentally called you she.
And I get that. But, funny thing, call me a goddamn idiot and a snowflake and all of that, but honestly,
I understand that trans is an umbrella, but we have a really big problem umbrellaing everything in society to a point where we're getting the wrong impression of what things are. Okay, this happens across so many different identities, right? So the trans umbrella, right, can be somebody who has gender dysphoria and is really working through that issue or that struggle, or somebody that simply identifies as non-binary but does very little to express themselves differently to society. These are both trans, but it's very different, and this happens across everything. Then there's people with like autism, people who are incredibly, for lack of a better term, high functioning, who don't require any real support in society and who function very well. They just had to like get a couple of different learning protocols in place versus somebody who is so, and for lack of a better term, we'll say high support. We'll say low functioning though, but we'll say low support here and then high support here. That they require, like, they need to be in group homes and they need to have like constant one-on-one supervisions. And they need to be on like these constant protocols. And I feel like the same thing with like ADHD. There are people who like struggle so much. They're so like, we'll say like they're low functioning ADHD, that they require like medication. They require like therapy, all this other, you know, not nonsense. That they require like a lot of like a high support. They need a lot of support. And then you have your like low support people, right? Who like maybe like myself at this point, like I used to be on medication, but now I manage to perfectly fine myself. I feel like one of the problems that we're getting here is that we're looking at them as an umbrella. And then a lot of us are looking at the most presented ones, which tends to be like the more low functioning, and we're not really seeing, or excuse me, the low support are the most presented ones. And then the higher support individuals, they're like nowhere to really be seen, and we start to think that the entire group is represented by the low support individuals, and then we're like, oh, is gender dysphoria or is trans really a big issue? It seems like this person is just like dressing like a girl and they're a biological girl, saying that they're they them. Oh, is really autism that big of a deal? This just seems like a person who's sometimes a little bit awkward. Oh, do we think that like ADHD is that big of a deal? This person just sometimes can't shut the fuck up. Right? And instead, like, there's a whole deep ocean of people who require a lot of different supports. And then we get this like incorrect idea of like, you know, what's going on with these different people. And we don't truly understand the struggle that they're going into. And we don't really have like an access to truly understand that thing. That's the point that I'm trying to make here when I say that it's a frustrating thing. And it's not just happening in like the trans capacity. It's happening in like a ton of different identity communities. Right? So that's the point that I'm trying to make.
see, why should I toughen up and not just try to make world a little bit softer?
Okay, but you could have done that by saying like, "Oh, this person misgendered me. I think that we can make it a policy to walk around and ask everybody their pronouns." That would have been fine, even if I disagree, because I think that you don't have to go. You know, it's unrealistic expectation. But what you did is you called that person transphobic and said that you were shaking afterwards. You're too sensitive. Trans people aren't this sensitive. Like you're not. You're a bad representation of trans people.
Softer. Ugh, the accent really comes out there. Just make the world a little bit softer. Just make it more, you know, full of empathy and stuff.
No. Yeah.
And I don't think I'm asking for too much. And people in those comments really showed me that the problem is there. So.
Oh, you called somebody transphobic for not knowing that you identified as they them, as the non-binary.
Thank you for that. I'm not imagining things. Just be fucking nice, okay?
No.
Be fucking nice. I swear to God, I'm gonna go to bed
Never.
now, but one more.
I'll never be nice. All right. Well, that was that segment, but you know.
I want Papa Gut to pee on my face, but just as a friend. There's nothing weird about that. I want him to pee on my face.